Hi, this is Jennifer Crane with Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Welcome to my chapter reading of Ink and Intrigue at Ivy Tree in Ariadne Winter Mystery by Butler. Prologue. Ariadne, February 1958. Had I only taken my mother's oft-given advice and stayed at the Cliff Walk Manor Hotel, it would have been some other poor sod who found the dead man. You see, according to my mother, the Manor Hotel is the only respectable place for an unchaperoned young girl in your situation to stay. My situation being an independent, single young woman currently residing in Midtown Manhattan at the Webster Apartments for Young Ladies, much to my mother's chagrin, as I did not choose to marry the very handsome but rather a boring Thackeray Youngstown who took me to the senior ring dance. I digress. My apologies. You're probably wondering about the dead body. I'd only known the victim for 5 days leading up to the murder. Unfortunately, the vision of the cold corpse will remain in the archives of my brain forever. For though it had been staged to look like an accident, it was most definitely a murder. My powers of observation identified the questionable manner in which the body lay and the discrepancy in the timeline. The cast of suspects, and there were plenty, were also practical strangers to me. On the other hand, the strangers could be quite chatty and unaware of their surroundings when speaking in confidence. My eavesdropping was not always on purpose. I accidentally stumbled across a few conversations I had not been meant to hear. I had no idea how important these overheard conversations would become when it came to connecting the dots of deceit, lies, anger, envy, and long held grudges. If I'd realized the danger involved carrying on my dogged investigation to sniff out a story, I would have never gone down the probing path. No, that's not true. My curiosity and desperation to obtain my goal would not have been quashed by a little danger. Some danger. Okay, a great deal of danger. To provide a clearer picture, I'd best start at the beginning. My name is Ariadne Winter. I know what you're thinking. My mother was on Greek mythology kick at the time she was pregnant with me. Aunt Ruby once told me I was lucky my mom didn't saddle me with Persephone or Harmonia, two names under serious consideration. I work for Ladies Lifestyle magazine, one of the largest magazines in the nation. When I graduated college in 1956, unencumbered by an MRS degree, I naively determined my path would be investigative journalism. However, after being patronized, lewdly propositioned, and occasionally outright laughed out of at least a dozen newspaper offices, my father suggested I take my journalism job to get my foot in the door. The reality is that there are plenty of young girls who could cut off their foot to obtain a job at Ladies Lifestyle. I've been at the copywriting desk for the past 2 years and finally got my shot at writing a feature article. It began a month ago when Aunt Ruby called me to tell me about a new movie being filmed near her home in Newport, Rhode Island. The musical version of Arsenic and Old Lace is being made with top-notch musical talent, Aunt Ruby said. They're calling it Marriage, Madness, and Murder. She went on to explain. A group of superlative actors have been cast. The gorgeous Donna Morgan will be playing the preacher's daughter, and I interrupted. Wait a minute, did you say Donna Morgan, soon to become Her Serene Highness, Princess Donna of Maldania? The very one, she confessed, or confirmed. I let out a low whistle of excitement and scrambled for in my desk drawer for a pad. Wait a minute, let me grab a pen. I found a pencil tucked behind my ear. Okay, shoot, tell me everything. Tommy Tanner will play the hapless Mortimer, Brewster. Hollywood standby Genevieve Pierce and Betsy Thomas are cast as the kindly but murderous aunts. And the director had gotten Frederick Dunbar, fresh out of his stint at the Foxtail Spa and Retreat, a popular spot for actors to dry out, for the part of Teddy Brewster. The Tony Baldwin Band will be making an appearance and doing much of the music for the movie. I scribbled down the information. How did you hear of this gossip? Ariadne, I don't gossip, she said in warning tones. I am stating facts. Apparently, Donna Morgan's regular hair and makeup girl has gone and gotten herself pregnant. The movie studio decided to hire a local makeup and hairdresser for Miss Morgan. I've known Monty, the director, since my modeling days. Once I get caught up for when the production coming to Newport, I made a call, and voila, it was done. The snap of her fingers crackled across the phone lines. This is fantastic. I'm sure my editor will want to put it in the Hollywood Tidbits section for the next issue. I dotted the last I and ripped out the piece of paper. Tidbits Schmidt's. I told Monty my niece is a journalist at Ladies Lifestyle, and I've gotten you a private interview with Donna Morgan. The two other girls in the copy room jumped up at my school of delight. Aunt Ruby, you are simply the kinchiest. You have 48 hours to get back to me before the studio passes the interview on to Look. Look was Ladies Lifestyle archival. I couldn't allow it. Besides, this interview could be my avenue off the copy desk. When do I need to be there? Filming starts in 2 weeks. I burst into the future editor's office to pitch the article, swearing up and down that Ladies Lifestyle would have one of the last interviews with Donna Morgan before she became a princess on June 10th, 1958, and quit acting for good. Howard appeared skeptical about letting a young gal take on this meaty article. I don't know if you're the proper person to send. Those Hollywood starlets must be handled with a certain finesse. You're still wet behind the ears. Chad Reeder, on the other hand, has the experience. Pondering his options, he shoved his glasses on top of his balding head. I could feel the story slipping away from me and blurted. The studio asked for me in particular, and Donna Morgan approved it. I crossed my fingers behind my back. It was just a little white lie. Then I played my trump card. If you don't send me, they'll pass this article over to Look. His peg-like face suffused with anger. To look over my dead body. He threw his glasses across the paper-littered desk and barked. You've got a week, Winter. Get it done, and don't screw it up, or I'll be the last thing I'll write for this magazine. I forced myself to walk sedately from his office, while my insides danced with glee. Before going any further, I should be clear the dead body was certainly not Miss Morgan, nor anyone associated with the production. However, important information gleaned from my interview with Miss Morgan shed light on the motives of certain suspects. We'll get to that later. You see, it all started at the delightful Ivy Tree Inn where Aunt Ruby booked me a suite. Chapter 1, Ariadne, Monday. The 1896 building had all the charming characteristics a New England Victorian home should have: steepled gabled roofs, a large wraparound front porch, stained glass windows, and enough decorative woodwork to rival Hansel and Gretel's gingerbread house. And of course, the requisite ivy-covered oak tree took up half the front yard, hence the name of the inn. I arrived in my mother's Ford Thunderbird, which she insisted I borrow, so I wouldn't have to face the horrors of a dirty train and bus, completely ignoring the fact that I rode the rat-infested New York subway on a daily basis. The first people to say hello were a pair of gentlemen bundled up in coats and hats, enjoying a scotch and smoke on the front porch in a waning light. I surmised that the scotch did more to ward off the cold February breeze than the coats. You must be the guest we've been waiting for. A white-haired man laid his cigarette in the ashtray, adjusted his wire-rimmed glasses, and rose to his full height a few inches above 6 feet. Hello, are you the owner, Mr. Weiler? I removed the leather glove and shook his hand. Nope, one of the boarders like you. He winked. Walter Sullivan. By this time, the other man had gotten to his feet. He was the opposite of his friend. Maybe 5.5 feet tall, bald, and with a Hitchcock belly. A pipe still between his teeth, he tipped his fedora and bowed at me. Cedric Higginbottom, at your service. I believe I heard his stays creaking as he resumed an upright position. It's nice to meet you both. I am Ariadne Winter. I just drove up from Manhattan. Frank is expecting you. He's either in the library or pettering around the kitchen. If you don't find him, ask one of our wives. You'll find them gossiping in the front parlor. Sullivan's eyes twinkled, and he grinned at his little joke as he resumed his seat. I let myself into the wide foyer and was delighted to find a veritable sea of antique furnishings in keeping with the age of the home. An antique walnut hat rack stood in the corner with a shield back chair next to it, and across the way a grandfather clock that must have stood close to 7 feet tall. Straight ahead, at the base of a beautifully carved circular staircase built for a bridal entrance, was an old mahogany counter with a registration book in the center, a phone, and a servant's bell. On my left was the library. The glass French doors weren't closed, but I got the impression of dark furniture and a billiard table surrounded by a lot of dark wood paneling. It was empty. Hello? I stepped further into the foyer. Oh, Connie, she's here, said a fluttery voice from the parlor on my right. The parlor continued the trend of antique furnishings, which included seating areas of plump chairs, taffeted sofas, and a Louis XV style card table by a set of French doors. Two ladies sat at the table. Oh my, isn't she fashionable? Said a dumpling of a woman with a robin's egg blue eyes, whose round face was surrounded by a cloud of blonde hair. What a beautiful coat! For heaven's sake, she's not a circus animal, Dottie, the other woman said in gravely tones, rising to her feet. She wore wide-legged trousers, a black turtleneck sweater, and a silver fox stole laid across her shoulders. Her salt and pepper hair was cut quite short, which did nothing to disguise her horse-faced features. Hello, I'm Connie Sullivan, and you must be Miss Winter. Glad you made it. We were beginning to worry. Her handshake went along with her athletic build for it, as she was as strong as a man's. Oh, I didn't realize you were expecting me at a specific time, I replied. Frank has been expecting you since early afternoon, Connie said, adjusting her stole. This is my friend, Dottie Higginbottom. The petite woman minced over to me, wearing sky-high heels and a sunshine yellow dress, and with a red belt that sat right below her ample bosom. Even in the heels, she couldn't have been more than 5'2". Call me Dot, or Dottie. Everyone does. I understand you work for Ladies' Lifestyle magazine. It's my favorite magazine. As a matter of fact, I brought this month's issue with me on this trip. Do you live in the city? I've always wanted to live in the city, and I understand you're here to interview Donna Morgan. She said the last in worshipful tones. I waited a moment before answering to make sure Dottie had finished prattling questions at me. Yes, I work for Ladies Lifestyle in New York, and indeed, I'm here to interview Donna Morgan. They were filming today, and we saw Tommy Tanner on Ocean Avenue, Dottie sighed with wonder. Connie, looking unimpressed, crossed her arms. The movie men blocked traffic for a solid hour, she said dryly. You must be tired from your drive. I think I saw Mr. Wyler go towards the kitchen a few minutes ago. Striding across the floor, she pushed open a pocket door that led to the dining room and bellowed, Frank, Miss Winter is here. Then she returned to her seat at the card table. He'll be along in a moment. Mr. Wyler hurried into the living room. He was of average height and weight, with light brown hair, hooded brown eyes, and a sharp, hawk-like nose. Wearing a pair of dark corduroys with a plaid flannel shirt, he looked the part of an owner. Miss Winter, we're so glad you made it. I was beginning to worry. Your aunt told me you'd arrive by 3. I detested the chastising way he greeted me, as if I weren't a woman grown. However, I swallowed the impulse to make a smart remark and forced an appeasing smile and said, I apologize. I left the city late and there's traffic on the Merritt Parkway. I could use the loo and a freshen up if you don't mind. Yes, of course. Let's sign you in, and I'll take you to your room. I signed the register while Mr. Ryler retrieved my room key. Breakfast is served in the dining room from 7 to 10. There is a bar in the library that I unlock for guests to have a cocktail from 5 to 6 every evening. It's almost 6 now, he said, checking his watch. Would you like me to fix you a drink while you get settled? A gin and tonic, please, I replied, following him up the grandiose staircase. I don't smoke, and I've limited the smoking areas to the library and the guest rooms. And the porch, of course. No smoking in the parlor or the dining room, please. You'll be staying on the second floor. The Conrads and Higginbottoms are in rooms in the new addition on the main floor, he explained, pointing in various directions as we went. The Sullivan's are on the second level with you, and my apartments are on the top floor. The last room on your level is unoccupied. I nodded in affirmation when he glanced back at me. The front doors are locked at 10 every night. Make sure you take your keys with you if you're planning to stay out later than 10. No overnight guests allowed. You're paying the single rate. If any guests are here past 10, you'll be charged for a double. He gave me a significant look, stopping in front of a door with a rose painted on it. Tucking an errant curl behind my ear, I glanced at my clothes, wondering what would have prompted such a statement. My navy and green plaid swing coat was still buttoned and fell to my calves. My driving heels were a demure 1 inch high, and the black leather handbag I carried couldn't have been more commonplace. I touched my head to make sure the matching Juliet-style hat hadn't been knocked askew. Perhaps he thought my recently manicured red nails and lipstick were too racy? He unlocked the door. This is the Rose Suite Ruby looked for you. It's been recently redecorated in the modern fashion. With a flick of a switch, the room was bathed in a soft light from an Italian glass and brass ceiling chandelier. This is your sitting room. You'll see it overlooks the front yard. That door is the bedroom and bath. My decorator assured me it was all the fashionable people are doing it this way. I stepped across the threshold, and my heels sank into the wall-to-wall, rose-colored carpet. Indeed, the furniture was completely modern, with sleek lines, bulbous lamps, and skinny, pole-like legs. I disliked the room immediately. The word malapropos came to mind. It held none of the charm of the rest of the house. My fingers ran across the mantel. They'd left the beautiful carved fireplace alone, but it was the only thing in the room that harkened back to the original architecture. All the rooms on this floor have been redone. Do you like it? He asked, almost like a puppy dog waiting for a pat on the head. It's lovely, a placidous smile in turn. Thank you, Mr. Wyler. Could someone bring up my luggage? It's in the trunk of my car. Yes, of course, he nodded, accepting the keys. And do be careful with that portable typewriter. It's on loan from the magazine. Of course, he replied and turned to leave, and then paused and twisted his head. I don't know if your aunt informed you, but we don't serve lunch. However, we can provide a boxed lunch upon request for additional costs. It includes a sandwich or cold chicken, fruit, and potato or pasta salad. Would you like one for tomorrow? Unsure what my meal situation would be on the set, I nodded. That would be lovely, thank you. Dinner begins at 7. Do you have plans to eat elsewhere tonight? I shook my head. That's fine, I'll let the cook know. While breakfast and cocktails come with the room, dinner does not. It's $4.50, including beverages. Wine or beer is extra. It will be added to your final bill. Will your aunt be joining us? S? I'm afraid not. It's dinner for one tonight. I'll bring up your luggage and a fresh cocktail. Closing the door behind Mr. Wyler, I leaned against it and rummaged in my handbag for a cigarette. I pulled the packet from beneath my wallet, and only to find it empty. Crushing it between my fingers, I tossed it into the metal wastebasket with a sigh. I need that cocktail before raising the inquisitive Dottie at dinner.